What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Big T's Reviews and Reactions, and today we have a review on the second episode of American Horror Story Death Valley. This is the second part of the double feature, and the synopsis of the episode goes: the president struggles with the morality of a deal he must make. As always, guys, I need you to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell below. Let me know if you want me to do. Let me know what kind of videos you guys want me to do. But let's get into this episode. We go to Palm Springs, 1963, and here we are. We really did a massive time jump. Eisenhower is no longer the president, and he actually wants to tell JFK, John F. Kennedy, about the alien treaty. Richard Nixon is really against this. You know, he keeps mentioning the fact that Kennedy is soft-hearted. He's a Democrat. Don't do this. So they meet with Kennedy, and that's when we learn that Eisenhower and Nixon made the deal. And the horrific deal goes: 5,000 people are abducted a year to keep the peace with the aliens. I really don't know what to say about this. This was horrific to me, to make a deal like this. But clearly, Ryan Murphy is really a genius to me. He does things like this, mysteries in real life where we wonder what happened to such and such, or unsolved mysteries. He uses them in his storylines. I also like the fact that we're going to talk about this a little bit later, how he introduced Amelia Earhart's mystery, and I mean, I'm a conspiracy theorist, but there are people who will run with this, who may not trust the government and may think, who's to say they really didn't find Amelia Earhart? John F. Kennedy, after he gets this horrific news that he just did not take well, he's horrified. He can't understand how Eisenhower, who was supposed to be the president, would make a deal like this. He looks like he's almost sick to his stomach. And later on, this is really what really got to me. It was really genius, but it was also shocking that they would actually allow him to put this on TV. John F. Kennedy is lying in the bed with Marilyn Monroe. I mean, they didn't say her name at first, but the mole, the blonde hair, there were rumors about them anyway. He's laying in bed with her, and he's actually confiding in her about the treaty. She never seems shocked. She tells him when she was a little girl, her mother would never allow her to have toys, her stepmother, or they couldn't afford them. And she saw this little bear in a chair, a teddy bear. And there was a flashing white light outside, a bright light outside her window, which blinded her. And she used her hands to cover her face. And as she looked at the bear again, it had these huge alien-like eyes. This is why it didn't shock her. But she also tells her, I can't tell Jackie. I don't know if he's looking at his wife as weak or what, but he says, I cannot tell her. So after this, we go, and Dwight is laying in bed with his wife, Mamie, and he gets a call. And of course, it's Richard Nixon, the busybody. He's telling him, I just heard that Kennedy is making a secret study group. I think he's going to blow the pants off this treaty. We're in trouble, They start speculating what might happen, and they said, well, we can't let him do it. There's something we must do. We have to do something. And in my head, 1963, I know where this is going. If any of you know a little about your presidential history, I think you all know this is going too. And I'm like, can they really take it there? Is this man really going to do this? Is Ryan Murphy really going to do this? It really kind of keys me off that people are really going off this show already saying it's not good. Ryan Murphy is a genius. He ties real life events into this fictional world in such beauty and mastery that you just have to be in awe. But people are already turning on Death Valley. So the next morning, Mamie and Dwight, they're sitting down eating breakfast. They have these little Salisbury TV dinners, and Mamie starts going on that it was done in all but a minute. I was a little nervous to use technology that they gave us, and then that's when they inform us, oh, the alien race gave them the microwave oven. So as they're sitting about to eat, the news breaks, the news that I knew what was coming. Kennedy has been shot in the head. And I'm like, oh my God. They are making it like it's an inside job. And not to jump off course, but sometimes, I mean, I personally think it was an inside job. I think there is this photo right after Kennedy died. This is real life now. There's this photo right after Kennedy died or got shot where they're on the elevator, and Jackie is, she has blood on her. She's looking down. She is so hurt. Her husband, the love of her life, is gone. And in the back, you see JFK's vice president winking, smiling. It gives me goosebumps to think about it now. It's a really evil photo. I think it's actually called the Devil's Wink. Look it up on Google. Just type in JFK, the Devil's Wink photo, and you will see it. And if this photo does not creep you out, then I really don't know what to say about you as a person. But anyway, after this is found out, Mamie Eisenhower, who is played by Sarah Paulson, who, guys, really, we cannot let her leave American Horror Story. But she tells him you had to do what you had to do, and she actually says this is patriotism at its finest. After she hears the news, I'm shocked, but she says this. This is when we do a backward time jump. We jump 9 years earlier, so we're back in 1954, and this is right before, right after the alien made. This is right after the episode ended. Dwight Eisenhower calls a meeting and informs all of his lieutenants and, head of states and the governors and everybody, the big wigs of the United States. He informs them of the aliens. And as he's talking, in float the mother from the last episode that the aliens took over her mind. He brings a box, and she opens the box, and you see almost like this clear, thick string with wires running through it. And she says it's a metal that it'll make it where it sucks up radiation so it can't be detected. Basically letting them know you can use this in wars, certain things like that. At this point, one of Eisenhower's generals jumps up and says, somebody has to take a stand. This is devil work. And he points his gun and he says, we have to fight the devil. Eisenhower tries to tell him, no, put your gun down. Too late. She raises her hand, and you know what she loves to do. She blows his freaking head off. I mean, just like that. She blows his head off. And right after that, she looks at the president and she says, we won't wait forever for your answer. Which is not a statement, it's a threat. She's basically saying, yeah, my race is dying off, but I'm all powerful. I can levitate. I may have telekinesis. I can blow people's heads off. So she's basically saying, I'm willing to go to war and imprison this planet, but we want to make a deal with you. Right after that, the mother's eyes go clear because the alien is not in her anymore. And then her head is blown off. She's just dead. That's it. She's dead. There's nothing we can do. That's it. So one of a doctor or someone comes in and tells Eisenhower, we have a problem with the patient that was being held, or the test subject. That's what they called her. He knows it to be Amelia Earhart. He goes and he sees that she is dead. She has blood all over her abdomen, and that's when we know she's given birth. And if the aliens had her, we know what she's given birth to. They look in the room, and all of the doctors and everything are dead. Eisenhower is furious. This was his wife's idol. He is furious. But right after that, he asks for a gun. No, sir, we have protocol. Someone is coming. No, he wants to go in. Others going with him, and they tell him it's still alive. They're looking for it. And he touches Amelia and says, you did not deserve this. He closed her eyes. And soon after, the alien hybrid baby jumps up, and he's a great shot. He just shoots it dead. And I think for him, he shoots it again, just to make him feel better. He informs Mamie of the deal. She tells him, you have to do it. And her logic is, if you don't do it, the Russians are going to get this technology. And we cannot afford for that to happen. He is essentially a good person, I believe, and he does not want to do it. He still needs time to think. So Mamie goes behind his back, and she invites Tricky Dick Richard Nixon over, and she gives him a folder. And he asks, where did you get this from? I didn't even know about it. And She tells him, well, maybe you can convince him. And a little funny part to me, anyway, it was funny to me. He says, why would he listen to me? He doesn't even like me. And she says, well, that's true. He doesn't. He doesn't have a very high opinion of you. And he says, well, how did you get this? Oh, I had the key to my husband's drawer for a while. He goes to the golf course in Palm Springs. He informs Dwight Eisenhower that, yeah, I know about this, and I'm telling you, you have to do it. He's upset. He goes home. He confronts Mamie. How could you do this? How could you go to Richard Nixon? Well, I think he called him Dick Nixon. And as they're fighting, she's taken over by the aliens. They basically blackmail him with his wife's life to go through with the deal. So after this, of course, he's going to go through with this deal because he loves his wife. He's going to go through with it. Any husband would that love his wife anyway. So now we're going back to present day. I mean, this episode is actually almost over. Kendall, Jamie, Troy, and Cal, they had the pedal to the metal. They are rushing. They have to get to the dock. Kendall, as she's driving, she's looking for a logical explanation. There has to be something. Maybe there's a growth. Maybe there's a tumor. Such and such and such. She doesn't understand. Well, 2 men are pregnant, so I wouldn't understand it either. But she's trying to be a doctor, so I understand why she's trying to take the logical approach to this. They all agree that they are going to meet Jamie's doctor because this is the same doctor that helped her with her abortion when I think she was 19. So Jamie informs them she can be very discreet. So they go to the doctor, and as Jamie is on the table, she sees something, and she first says, the twins run in your family because I hear 2 heartbeats. And Jamie's like, no. And then all of a sudden, she freaks out. Something is clearly wrong. She sees something that she wish she doesn't. So she says, just hold on, I'll be right back. And she rushes out the room. And Kendall wants to know, what did she see? So right after this, Jamie gets off the table and Troy gets on the table because Kendall wants to know. I want to know what you saw. So she puts some of the ultrasound gel on his stomach and she gets a picture. I have an irrational fear of aliens. There's nothing that's ever really been on American Horror Story that really creeped me out, that made me want to stop looking. But when I saw this ultrasound, I really wanted to turn it off. But I kept looking for you. I kept looking for you guys. Okay, that's how dedicated I am to y'all. I kept looking, even though this freaked the heck out of me. The ultrasound is creeping me out just thinking about it now. It's an alien inside him. You can see it's moving around. You can see the head. You can see the eyes. It really freaked me out. She shows them what she sees. And then that's when we jump back to Jamie's doctor on the phone wanting an emergency consult. She has to talk to somebody. They tell her, well, the doctor isn't in the office, can you hold? That's when a black van pulls up and all these military personnel jump out and a black guy comes in and asks her, have you told anybody what you saw yet? And she says no, and he says good, and he shoots her dead. They go in the room and they stick a tranquilizer or a syringe, in their neck, and it knocks all of them out. So right then and there, we know, okay, he went through with it. If the government is in on it, of course Eisenhower went through with it. This is when it gets bad, when you realize the true evil that we are dealing with. Kendall wakes up in a room full of people, all pregnant, men and women, and they are floating in midair. They are horizontal, and they are floating. No table needed. They are just floating in midair. And then that's when someone with these long fingers comes trying to talk in this soothing voice. And it sounded a lot like the chemist off of Red Tide to me. And she's talking, trying to tell her it's going to be okay. Calm down for the baby. You should be happy you've been chosen to help rebuild a race, to help save the planet. And Kendall says, to save Earth. And then she says, who said anything about saving the Earth? Kendall is freaking out again. And she just waves her hand over Kendall and says, be quiet. And Kendall is quiet. So evidently she has the power to hypnotize or something. We go later on and we see these it looks like Jell-O with these little centers in the middle. And Kendall is sitting by herself, and she's just listening to everyone talk. And they did a great job with this, because Leslie Grossman, who plays someone named Calico, I immediately knew she was talking to Steve Jobs. They are sitting down talking. It's just amazing. And then this is when we realize, okay, so Steve Jobs really didn't die. Like, the aliens had him. I'm telling you, this is genius. This man is a genius. Give it up to Ryan Murphy. He really knows his stuff. But anyway, Jamie and Cal and Troy, they are out of it. They found each other, and then they see Kendall and they rush over, and they really didn't know what happened to them. And Leslie Grossman, she listens to what they say. So they're at the table talking, and then Leslie Grossman joins them and really tells them that I haven't aged a day from the 60s or the 70s. She informs them I've been here multiple times. They've used me multiple times to give birth. And she also informs them that there are people who give birth once. And Troy says, also, you know, once you give birth, for the people who do it once, they let them go. Leslie Grossman really doesn't say anything. She starts saying, you know, amnesia and not remembering is a blessing, yada, yada, yada. And this is when your hair stands up. You realize, okay, you're going to die. Like, and I think Troy realizes this. They come over and start telling them to eat, and Troy throws some of the stuff on the ground, and he's paranoid. He's losing it. He's hysterical. Of course, he wants to know, how are you guys going to get this baby out of me? Leslie Grossman says, life must find its own way, and that's creeping me out. Of course, we know he's not going to live through this. We saw what happened to Amelia Earhart. They take Troy back to the back because he's hysterical. And as they take him to the back, that same lady with the tranquil voice comes out, and she tells him, you will be remembered for your sacrifice. These are all phrases that you use when you're letting someone know you're not going to survive this. Troy starts bleeding out of the left side of his mouth, and he just wants to know, please let me go. How are you going to get this baby out of me? And she says what Leslie Grossman says, life has to find its own way. And she removes her mask. And one side of her face is regular, and the other, she has this huge alien eye. That's where we learn she's a hybrid. It freaks Troy out. He starts to scream. I don't know if because of the way she looks, or he starts to scream because the baby is... I gave this episode 3.5 stars. I didn't give it 5 like the first one, because I mean, I guess they had to, but I felt like they didn't give us enough of the present day. The first episode seemed to be a perfect mix of going back and forth. We didn't get much of the present day with Kendall and Jamie and Troy and Cal on this one, and that was a little disappointing to me. Alright guys, if you like this video and want to see more, please like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell anytime you want to see more of my content. This is Big T from Big T's Reviews and Reactions, and I'm out of here, and I'll see you guys next time.